Hello and welcome back to another edition of TIL. This is a segment where one of us teaches the other 3 things that they learned. Amir is going to be taking it away this week. Amir, tell me 3 things you learned. What was that noise?
Okay, we're going to start as young children with baby. So
what? As young children,
I don't know. I was trying to make like a pun. It didn't work out as usual.
Cool.
Jeez. Okay. So this high school in Chicago, they needed to raise some money for a fundraiser. So a couple of kids came up with the idea that, and they convinced the school administrators to let them play Justin Bieber's song "Baby" over the loudspeakers for 1 week, or until they raised $1,000.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So between Monday and Wednesday, they played "Baby" 54 times and played through around 20 times between classes. And people lost their minds. So they started giving money so that they would stop playing it.
That's amazing. What were they fundraising for?
It was like a non-profit to host.
So it was for a charity.
It was for like their civic center, their cultural center.
I love
That's genius,
that.
right?
It's
like we're
so
gonna play
smart.
such an annoying song until people pay to stop playing it.
It's very smart.
Yeah,
it's really quite clever what they've done, and nothing like sort of just rage donations.
Yeah.
Like donate out of goodwill, sure, that'll get you somewhere. But people rage donating, which like just make it stop like that. You will rack up the money.
The best part is like the administrator for the nonprofit that they were raising the money for had just like this quote after. Like, people who work here are just incredibly moved by the fact that these kids came to us and wanted to help out. Like, dude, no, they were losing their minds because you were playing "Baby" over and over again. I don't know, this just made me laugh when I saw it, and I didn't know about it before.
Oh man, that really cracks me up.
Yeah, so like complete different turn with the next one, but this is about the myth of the 8-hour sleep. Because we like to talk about sleep a lot today because no one really gets enough sleep.
Every day I hear from Lizzie that she didn't get her 8 hours. No matter, even if she didn't get her 8 hours, she didn't get her 8 hours.
We are used to, and like as far as we know, our grandparents and everyone has been used to that. Like you sleep, you need to get 8 hours of consecutive sleep every night.
Immediate death.
Well, it's actually not the case, Grace.
Interesting.
So in the early 1990s, psychiatrist Thomas Ware conducted an experiment in which a group of people were plunged into darkness for 14 hours every day for a month. And it took some time for their sleep to regulate, but by the 4th week, the subjects had all settled into a very distinct sleeping pattern. They slept for 4 hours and then they would wake up for 1 to 2 hours before falling into a second 4-hour sleep.
So it's so it's grand total 8.
It's grand total 8, but it's broken up into 2 pieces. And after doing like a little bit of further research, like with historians and whatever, they actually found out that yes, this was actually the way people slept pretty much until like the early 1900s, before there was electricity.
What do you mean? So they like go to sleep early. When does the 4-hour nap
so
come
people
in?
would go to sleep around sunset and they would sleep for around 4 hours. And then they would wake up, and in between that time, it was actually, people were really active. Most people stayed in bed, they read, they wrote, they often prayed. There's actually a lot of prayer manuals from like the late 15th century which offered special prayers for the hours in between the sleeps. And there's all this historical information that has people referring to the first sleep and the second sleep.
Wow.
It's just like the trippiest thing ever. And then,
also, that makes sense because you feel the most rested after like a 4-hour nap.
Yeah.
When you wake up from that 4-hour nap, you're like, I'm about to run for CEO.
Yeah. So like there's like just all this weird historical information. Like in the 16th century France, there was a doctor's manual that said the best time to conceive was not at the end of a long day's labor, but after the first sleep, when, quote, they have more enjoyment and do it better.
Sure.
Yeah, so this whole first sleep, second sleep thing, it started to disappear during the 17th century because of the addition of like street lamps and of the addition of like a nightlife that never really existed before.
Right.
Because like nighttime was considered just like not a good time for most of human history.
Pitch dark.
Because it's pitch dark. But then they started adding like oil lamps in the streets, and starting in like Paris.
And people are like, should we go out for drinks?
Yeah, and then like coffee was becoming a bigger thing, so there was coffee houses now, and it started disappearing. And then by the 1920s, this whole concept of first sleep and second sleep just disappeared.
I'm gonna be telling that to Lizzie this night as soon as I get home. Just be like, no, you don't need your 8 hours, you need 4.
Yeah, this is related to this, but I also read that the best way to reset your internal clock is to go camping.
Well, that's why we go camping so much.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a gay thing, it's just to reset our internal clocks.
Is this surprising to you that?
It is surprising, but it's surprising, although it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like we always think that the era we're in, that's exactly how things have always been for the conceivable, time. But actually, before,
it makes me wonder, like, what other things about us as humans have we lost, just like to modernity?
Amir, so much.
Yeah. Okay. The last thing, subvocal speech. So you know that your inner monologue in your head that you hear all the time. All the time, but like whatever, like you use it every day. Like when you're thinking of something and you're just reading in your head. Basically, they found out that whenever you're having an internal monologue in your head, like say you're reading something quietly and you're reading that in your head, your larynx and your vocal muscles are actually contracting to mouth those words basically without making any noise.
What?
Yeah. So anytime you're reading something in your head or you're hearing a voice in your head, you have a corresponding movement where like you would typically be using to talk.
That makes my throat feel so weird.
It is. Now here's the creepy part. So they applied this knowledge to schizophrenic people who hear voices, and they put a microphone in their larynx, and when they did that, they could actually hear the voices out loud. So these voices that these schizophrenic people were hearing, they heard their voices, and they helped them realize that these aren't voices in your head, this is actually your own voice. Super creepy, but also really interesting.
My jaw was fully dropped. What is your source for that?
Slate, and they did like a long study.
Oh, okay.
Because like one of the scientists was just like, well, we know that there is movements in their larynx or whatever, but you can't hear it. What if we amplified whatever noises were coming out of there, and like they played? This is like something out of a horror.
I was thinking that. I was like, it's from Slate, because I was like, what if it is from creepypasta?
No, it's not from creepypasta.
Because that is pretty eerie. Although I wonder, I mean, it's eerie for us. Although I wonder if it could be somewhat sort of validating and conducive to some sort of relief if you were experiencing that. Just so basically, like, you're not crazy. We understand what's happening here. Let us help you. Is what I was thinking of. Although I'm sure that could be turned into a horror movie as well. But I think just the idea of voices beyond our own sort of recognition, beyond our own visible mouthpiece, is always kind of strange to us. Wow, I actually learned 3 different things. I want to learn one more thing from you though. If there was one song that they could play that would make you donate money here around TYT on a constant loop until you reached X amount, what would the song be?
Oh, anything by Carly Rae Jepsen.
No.
Oh God, I just want to I want to smash these 2 mugs together and then like smash my face.
I just stabbed you.
What about you? Like, what song would just drive you nuts?
Honestly, I really don't like the song "Most Girls" by Haley Steinfeld.
I just don't.
I don't know why that song.
Get you. I don't get you. When I first met you, I was like, we have so much in common, and then I found out soon enough that it was all a facade.
All right. Well, hey, we want to hear from you guys. Did you learn something? I learned something. That's gonna do it for today's edition of Pop Trigger. But we'll see you next time, and we can't wait to see you. Bye bye.